Hi, and welcome to the Boat Princess podcast. My name is Nicky Vaux, and I'm your host. I'm a boat owner, a marinas owner, an international conference presenter, and a huge advocate for boating. I'm sharing the stories from every nook of the boating industry with the intention of encouraging more women to join me and for more women to get behind the helm too. I want to share the experience and opportunities of boating, of the boating industry, and I want you to join me as I bring the conversations and answer all the questions you've had. Boating is not just for the glamorous and rich and famous. It's full of beautiful and interesting people making the most of our natural environment and getting out there enjoying the waterways. So let's let off the lines, take over the helm, and escape to the world of boating. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Boat Princess podcast. I'm sitting in front of, well, she's quite incredible, I have to say. She will humbly say she's not, but she's an incredible woman that's achieved so much in our industry in Australia and beyond. And Hilary Buckman is the founder and editor-in-chief of her very own Ocean Media. So welcome, Hilary.
Thank you. It's really exciting. This is actually my very first podcast. So I know. It's crazy, isn't it? And so I'm not sure what to expect. And knowing me, I'll probably rabbit on for the next hour or so, but we're going to have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be good. So I know you don't like talking about yourself, but in actual fact, there's a lot of, especially women out there, that would love to hear your story and just understand a little bit about you, because you've achieved so much. And I know you've worked really hard to get where you are now. So I want to explore that with you. So let's start right from the beginning. Where did you go to school? What was your childhood like?
Wow, childhood. It's a very long time ago now. So brought up in Auckland on the North Shore of Auckland, and great childhood, a lot of sport, and my main sport was horse riding. So I ended up competing 3-day eventing. I came third in New Zealand National, so I got very high up. And in the weekends as well, we used to go and do a lot of fishing. So my parents were big into deep sea fishing, and that side of things, whether it was from the rocks or on a boat, we used to do a lot of in our childhood. And hunting, funny enough, but that's a completely different story. My parents then moved to a farm, or we moved to a farm when I was about 10, 11, so we could do more horse riding. So that was a big part. And my grandfather, so going back, my mum's Croatian, her father, one of 14, good Catholic family. He was the first to build boats on the Hodeo River and go fishing. So I grew up with a grandfather who was, well, the expert in fishing, Croatian family, and so you went fishing and drunk homemade red wine. So that might answer a few other questions everyone has about me as well. So really good childhood in New Zealand.
Lots of outdoorsy, wonderful lifestyle.
Lots of outdoorsy.
Yeah.
The strange probably diversion in where I've got to today. I actually started out in the medical industry. So training to become a pharmacist and dealing's the wrong word there. And so from that side of things, I was 23, about to complete everything. And one day I woke up, looked in a long, narrow, looking out the window. Well, the window was a miles away, as you all know from a pharmacist and where they sit. Yeah. I didn't want to do it. I thought, this is crazy. Literally weeks later, I hopped on a plane and took off to London.
No way.
And that's probably where my story starts.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends were in London, and I headed down to Gosport in Southampton and worked in the original Camper Nicholson yard. And I met at the 93, 94 Whitbread Round the World yacht race was on, and I learned how to sail. I was with the Kiwi team, and from there my story starts in a wild ride for 10 years, and from Southampton and then Chester in the UK to Perth, and then spent a year in Dallas, America.
What were you doing there?
So I actually worked as a marketing manager and doing branding for a fabrication company who did all the fabrication for satellite communications, nuclear weapons, and it just happened that the owner was the world champion speedboat racer.
Right.
So, and in Perth, we did a lot of sailing. So every probably job I had done, some way connected me to boating. Very crazy ride. I then made my way back to New Zealand. I hadn't been home in New Zealand for quite a few years. So in 99, the America's Cup was on.
Okay.
And I got totally caught up in the wave because when I left New Zealand, there was no viaduct harbour, and it all of a sudden, through the America's Cup, been converted into this incredible facility with restaurants, and it was a real wow factor for me to come home and go, my goodness, look what's happened. So I got caught up with the America's Cup, which I have loved for many, many years, and I was lucky enough, I got invited onto Larry Ellison's boat, so I went out sailing for the first race, New Zealand versus Prada, which of course we won, and rest is history. And so followed the America's Cup around for a number of years, and from there, wasn't long after I met my husband-to-be, and sort of I was ready to jump on a plane again and travel somewhere, and I went, oh, hang on, maybe I might give this one a little bit more time.
A decent run?
Yeah. So we ended up, so long story short, we ended up coming to Australia just to say, let's come for 2 years and see what happens here. Now, in between all of this, I had done a marketing and branding degree. I was setting up a company in New Zealand and helping small companies with rebranding. And just one of the companies I was working with was Sea Spray magazine.
Okay.
And it was a little newspaper type magazine. And I helped them go from that into a really luxurious boating magazine. And so when I came over here, I helped them enter into the Australian market. That worked out for a little while, and then it didn't.
Yes.
So I decided, along with a business partner at the time, we started Ocean in February 2005, and the rest is history with Ocean.
Absolutely.
So 19 years.
Amazing. So didn't expect to be in Sydney all that time, didn't expect to start a magazine all that time. Tell me, starting your own business like that I know you're a confident, amazing woman, but it takes some guts and some backing yourself to do that, doesn't it? Yeah. So where do you think that came from for you?
Work ethic. I think my parents were, very strict. I think a lot of respect for everyone above you and work hard and see what you can achieve. I work very hard, and I think anyone that owns a business these days can attest to that. You have to work hard, and then that will hopefully, with all your team members, and this is a team, this isn't about me, this is a huge team that pulls us together. You need to work hard if you want to get, and I strive for perfection, and I know we're not always going to get it, but if you strive for perfection, you can always get the most out of what you're doing. And number one, you've got to have passion. You know what it's like. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, I think that is the downfall for so many people when they can't find their way. I think what's really important is having passion for what you do. Without that, I think you're going to struggle, especially with the long hours, the weekends you have to work. And there is a lot of things in owning a business that aren't always fantastic. I mean, we love it. We're at a boat show. We love getting on all the boats. We love talking to all the people. But if you don't have that passion, it's a lot of work. It makes it for extra long hours. And
I know you do lots of extra long hours anyway, because your deadline weeks, I know, are intense for you.
19 years of deadlines. I know. So deadlines is just something you get used to. And I think with Ocean, it's pretty smooth running now. We've done it for so long. We know what needs to be done. So that's down pat, really. It's all the other things that I want to. I've got a list of probably 20 things that it's added to all the time of all the things I want to do. And then you just have to go, right, finding time to do it. Because I'm an ideas person. I come up with a new idea all the time. Every day I'll come up with a new idea for either a business or to improve something. And I think you go sleeping thinking about what you could have done better or what it might lead to. Like even this morning, I'm WhatsApping with my European editor, Charlotte Thomas, and we're just talking about ideas. Every day something will be said and we'll go, oh, that would make a great idea for a feature. And from talking to owners, talking to people in the industry, I've never had a problem. I've never in all this time run short on ideas because I talk to great people like yourself. You're always talking to people and you're finding out what the trends are and what are the owners' concerns and then all the fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So those ideas, you've changed Ocean quite a lot over its 19 years. When you started it, what was the vision when you started the magazine and Ocean Media?
So from putting my marketing and branding hat on, which is what, we all love boating, but that's what I came into the business with. I saw in 2004 when we first started setting up, 35 foot was a big boat. And then the 50 foot started coming in and Riviera and Maritimo had just started and they were going into the 60 foot and there was a surge. And I looked at, there was probably 30 boating magazines and fishing and they all were marketing across a 100-foot boat up to 5 million. And I was going, well, that's not the same owner. Yeah. It's not your branding in the magazines. You had a lot of companies branding, but half of it was, and I wouldn't say wasted because you don't want to, it was targeting one section of the market and then they would throw in the super and then they would throw in something else and it wasn't niche.
Yes.
And that's really where Ocean came and going, no one's looking after that top end of the market where I could see where it was heading. So we started Ocean with the proviso, you had to have a brand over $1 million to even advertise. So we turned a lot of advertisers away, which sounds crazy when you're starting a magazine, but we did. And to this day, we still continue that. First, inside front cover, always luxury product to, again, bring in something a little bit different. We have never gone away from that. So in 115 issues, wow, that's still what we stick at. I had so many people say, you're never going to succeed. That's far too niche. And it was interesting through the years, we had so many companies come to us going, we're building a bigger boat. Finally, we're able to get into Ocean.
Oh, wow.
So for years, we were used to say, sorry, you've got plenty of magazines to advertise in. And when you start building the bigger boat, then you can come into Ocean because that market's taken care of. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case now. And things change in the 20 years. But it's been an exciting ride. And I think another thing is know your market, know where your niche is and stick to it. It's the companies that start trying to be everything to everybody that can derail you. So just do what you do best and stick to it and then learn about new markets. And once you know what you're talking about, and it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I think branding is exciting. I think branding, the way things are happening in the market, I love following the trends of marketing.
It's very exciting. Yeah, and branding is massive now. It never used to be as big as it. Nobody launches anything now without setting up the brand first, do they? So,
but it's all the avenues. And, when the internet first came about, everybody was so nervous about it. And I'm like, well, let's work with it. It's going to be great for us. And so I never had been worried about any part of setting up a new section. So when we started the very first issue of Ocean, we did a digital magazine. So we've got 114 issues digitally. Yep. So if anyone wants to read a digital issue, they can.
Yeah.
And we've worked with that side of things. There are some people that love the digital version. Most owners, though, they want a copy on their boat. They want to have their cup of coffee in the morning and read Ocean. And time again, I say it all the time, they can't wait to get that copy through the mail, sit down and enjoy it, because most of us are so controlled by the digital era. Yeah. And on our phones, I see a huge move away from it. I see, especially with my two young girls now, there is, I mean, they're 11 and 13, so too young, but I'm keeping them away from it as long as I can. And I think they're not even interested at the moment, to be honest. I mean, they have their games, but they're just keeping away from that side of things, keeping them busy doing elsewhere. And there has been a move back into print around the world. There has been. We follow the American market as well. And I think that comes down to people trying to move away from that always online.
Yeah, because much of our work is online. So our relaxation time, we want away from being online. And I have to say, with your magazine, it even has a very special feel to the cover. Yes. And it's those little important elements, I think, that you bring to it that make it as special as it is. So tell me, how do you those sorts of things, how do you work with your printers and so on to make sure that yours is exactly how you want it to be? How do you do that?
Spend a huge amount of money is number one.
Fair enough.
So going back to, in 2016, I bought my business partner out. So now I'm 100% owner. And that then gave me, I suppose, brought in the vision of what I wanted to do. And it was about bringing to life my next 10 years of how I saw it. And because we were competing in that digital space, it then came down to all the senses. So that touch and feel was so important. So I went to an external designer firm and I said, this is what I want. So they changed the logo, which I first thought, oh, you can't change my masthead. That's my baby. You just can't touch it. And they kept on sending it through to me until I suddenly one day saw it and went, oh no, that is good.
I did that with my Boat Princess logo.
It takes a while to get your head around change.
Yeah.
And then we changed the stock. We put a soft feel on the cover, which makes it luxurious. We changed the paper stock inside. So there's actually 2 different paper stocks, and the satin, the uncoated section, which is more the lifestyle section, I mean, that's even more expensive than the rest of the paper. And it just gives that nice feel again inside once you're through it. And it's like, oh, here's a change. And that's our lifestyle section in the middle. So all these little things, it's really important, because that's part of enjoying something, is that sensory. And I love all that. So I love coming up with new things and everything in between. So it might be fold out pages, all these other little things you can do.
Yeah. And is it really like Devil Wears Prada? Do you literally put the pages up on the wall?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I'd so love to see that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I know, right? Such a good movie.
And we all discuss of what pages should be going where, and the covers we must do 10 different covers and put them all up in the wall, and it's a big discussion, and they will sit on the wall for quite a few days until one by one they each come down. Like someone might walk past, or I might walk past and go, oh no, pull it off. And it takes that time until you get it right. And of course, we all love it. The whole team, we all get involved.
Yeah.
So
that must be so much fun.
Well, yes, we do have fun. A lot of hard work,
but
of
challenging
course.
At the same time.
Oh, absolutely. But that part, we all love it. We all love getting involved. I get a lot of my team's input because it isn't just about me. And everyone, even though I really love design, it drives my designer crazy, and I know I send them crazy, but that's so important to get those little touches correct. And I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a beauty. I mean, we're boats. I mean, they're beautiful. I mean,
it's like,
we're spoiled for choice.
Photographic heaven, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
You go and tell me a boat show or any event that's done in a place that it's not pretty and gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly right. Boats are never in ugly places. So yeah, we're very lucky, and I'm the same with everything I do, my Instagram and everything. I've got so much to take photographs of all of the time. Whereas being an accountant, what do you put on Instagram? You know. So what's your favorite style? You know, you do some amazing features, you do amazing boat reviews, you do some really good stories about people. What's your favorite version of those? Which ones really inspires you?
People. I think we can, all the boats that we have written about and we continue to go and see, and I've been lucky enough to go to some world launches in the most spectacular locations around the world, but it's the people I enjoy, because people love buying off people they like, and the product, I think, comes second. I think when you meet people that have got great stories, and whether you're a broker, an owner, you run a yard, it's all about everyone's got a story.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brings the industry together. So like you have been doing the last 2 days, talking to people, seeing what they have, and then you do get on the boats. But it's the people that keeps us all together, tight-knit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm always excited to go to all the boat shows around the world and meet new people. I love talking to owners. Another thing which I'm very passionate about is ocean conservation, and we write a lot about what's happening in ocean conservation. Obviously, the engine room technology, the changes that we're all struggling with as an industry right now to figure out what's happening with reducing emissions, which is another part I'm very interested in, and follow all the developments, all the yards, what they're doing. So those sort of stories, I'm always learning. I don't want to stop learning about this industry because it's changing all the time. And for good or for bad, we've got lots of stories to tell on that side. And we're currently researching HVO, e-fuels, all these new things that give owners a choice to reduce their emissions now. So,
just explain to the listeners what HVO is in case they don't know.
So there are quite a few number of new, what they call biofuels, e-fuels coming out. And it's been happening for, I think, 80 years, I think. You've been putting virtually banana skins. What's that movie where...
Oh, yes.
Back to the Future.
Yep.
That's pretty much what it is. So it's all waste. So whether it's, I think, sugar cane, there's from wheat, all the waste. And they take that away and canola oil, all these different things, and it's any waste, and they make it into a clean fuel, which is burning less emissions. And it's a very exciting development. It's been around for quite a while, but what is the most exciting part of this, all the engine manufacturers are now approving the use. So and the manufacturing, the warranties,
which is really important.
Really important.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more technology required. I think for Australia, we're under, there's quite a few issues with getting it here. We produce all the waste and then ship it to Finland. They develop it and then ship it around the world.
Which is crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. But the mining, so every company right now has to reduce emissions. It is the number one way right now people can reduce the emissions. So all the big mining, all the big companies, Lend-Lease are all over it. Yeah. They are using HVO right now to reduce the emissions. It's not happening with everyone's talking about electric and all these other things. Yeah. It's happening for the fuel system.
Yeah. And my understanding is part of that cycle is that the plants grow, they absorb the carbon, and therefore they're at that side of the cycle as well. They're also helping the whole process.
Look, there is so much, but we've got to also... It's quite detailed. I know that at the moment they're tracking, so from virtually cutting down the cane, producing it, shipping it, you can't say it's 98% emission free when it's travelled around the world 5 times. So there's a lot more to it, but they are at least coming up with solutions, and it will be a big part of our mission target, a huge part. I'm a little bit frustrated why the government isn't doing more right now, because you can use it now if you can get it into the country.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that from railway, trucking, marine, now marine, that's shipping, not, I'm talking commercial, they're all over it, they're wanting it. So there's not enough being produced to cover everything. Aviation can use it.
Yeah.
Emission free.
Yeah, because Virgin did their flight recently with it, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a really exciting aspect of where our industry's going, and we all need to look at reducing carbon emissions. It's a difficult.
It's a hot topic, and it's a space that we really need to focus on.
Yep.
So that we don't get legislated against that we're only allowed to do 10 knots because we need to reduce emissions. That's not the way to fix it. We need to do other methods.
Yeah. There's some pretty big restrictions coming in Europe and the rest of the world, and it will happen here. So we've got to be very aware of that, because we don't want to put more restrictions to go boating, whether you've got a little 5 foot, little tinny and you want to go out with your kids, or if you've got a lovely big super yacht, you really want to enjoy it.
At Empire Marinas, we're family owned and we care about your boat. That's why we always have full hard stand facilities on site, so that we can save you time, money, and give you the greatest expertise on taking care of your boat. We are here for you, your boat, and a great boating lifestyle. To bring your boat to Empire Marinas, simply contact us at empiremarinas.com.au, and we'll see you on the water soon. So, what do you see as, there's been a change to Explorer yachts and some changes in designs that have happened. Tell us about some really exciting things that you've seen in design that's changed recently that you're really excited by.
It's been changing for a number of years now, and it comes down to owners want to go further. And they want to do it in safety. Obviously, again, regulations to go to Antarctica, you need ice class. So you were seeing a lot more vessels being built to ice class that they can spend months on board. Now, what has changed that is telecommunications, satellite. Starlink has been probably one of the biggest things that are allowing owners to spend months, if not years, on board. They can work on board. Their children they'll have the nanny. They'll be teaching. I know owners that have just packed up their kids and gone travelling for 2 years, and the kids are doing remote learning, and that's from having telecommunication and being able to travel. So then they look at, okay, what boat's going to get us there? There are many boats that are designed and look like they can go through Sydney Harbour. Not all of them should be taken out through Sydney Harbour. And I think a lot of owners and potential owners, especially new people to the industry, they need to make sure they have a broker or an owner's rep that can explain the differences, because it is something that you always hear those stories where someone has purchased a boat thinking that because it looks like something that can go through the heads, it's probably not the best design to go through.
Yeah.
And that's something that explaining that through our features. But there is, again, so many new trends coming through. I mean, you look at some of the boats that they look like they're some commercial freight frigate, and some of them have been. So, and that's another thing that's really exciting, the amount of refits of these frigates that have been turned into luxury super yachts. And I really love that side, because one thing, you've got a lot of these older boats that are sitting around. You've got someone with a lot of passion come in, spend a lot of money to refit them and repurpose them. And some of them have got the best hulls, steel hulls. And I think if you want to go places, it doesn't matter how fast. It's not about going 20 knots out there. It's getting there safely and having a hull that's going to be comfortable for the family.
And having space for the toys to do it with as well, right?
Oh, my goodness, the toys these days. Where do you start and stop? I mean, I think that's some of the things that when we go to boat shows, there's always a new toy. And then you'll see these super yachts come in and they will have, your usual helicopter, submarine. But then there's all these other toys starting to come in because the owners want to explore.
Yeah.
And it's one thing, whether it's the flight boards and it's the surfboards, it is the skidoos, all these different things. And for charter, it's fabulous. And I think that's another thing where as owners coming in and new people, finding out where your favourite place is on the boat.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I love talking to them about is where do you relax? Are you on the transom and you're just swimming all day? And are you on the foredeck? I mean, look at the foredeck areas. They've been changed in the last 10 years. You used to put a dinghy on top and away you went.
Yes.
Now that's a huge new space on the boat.
Yeah.
So all these different trends that have coming through, it's in a boat. I tell you what, one day I want a yacht designer to design a house. All the clever spaces.
I know, right? I don't understand why we don't do our houses as well as we do our yachts.
I know.
Yeah.
They use every inch of that boat. And you imagine what our houses would be like if you had and of course they are, a lot of them are doing hotels and luxury resorts. They use every usable space on board. And I think that's another exciting thing that we've recently written about of expanding spaces. And you might, I mean, we all know how marinas spaces are so tight right now. You can't get a bigger spot. So they say, okay, I've got a 70-foot. How do I create more space? And you've got the fold-out balconies and you've got 3 generations of people on board. So you might have your children, your grandparents, and you all want your own space. And that's where the foredeck area is so amazing and the transom, and everyone can find their own little space on board without having to go bigger in a bigger boat.
Yeah. And I think owners come up with some brilliant ideas sometimes. I mean, I was on the Fairline yesterday, 65 GT, and she had a little, they've got a butler's pantry downstairs, which is obviously a request because that's not a standard thing. And then it had this fold down table for when you're doing the prep of the platters and everything. You put that out and then you put it away again. I mean, there's some brilliant ideas owners have come up with. Is there any one particular idea you recall that you think, oh, wow, that was a really good idea?
Do you know what it is? And this might sound really strange, but I interviewed Lang Walker many years ago, and who has just recently passed. A lovely man and has owned some of the most beautiful sailing and power boats. And I was on the launch for Kokomo 3, 68 metre. And the one thing on that boat that I cannot understand why it's not on every boat is a bottle crusher.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny when I asked him, I said, a bottle crusher? And he said, we will go away for weeks at a time. Do you know how much wine and the bottles weigh?
Yeah.
And so he said at the end, and he's got 12 people on board plus, they might go through 6 bottles, maybe more, a night, and bottles of beer. And so they crush it all up and then it puts it back into sand and then it goes.
Such a
good
idea.
And I've just gone, that is amazing. Why doesn't every boat have one of those on board?
Yeah. Tip of the day from Hilary Button. Please put a bottle crusher on every boat.
But no, look, out of all the things, I mean, that was how many years ago was that? I mean, there's always great ideas and you go, oh, yes, I really would like that in my house. So there's lots of different things you see. And, of course, we're dealing with some of the most incredible minds with the designers and, as you point out, the owners. The owners are bringing whatever's in their house they want on their boat, whether it's designers, the interiors, they want to have that reflection. I mean, look at Shadow next door, beautiful. That's just gone through an amazing refit. And the paint is the same colour as his Mercedes. He wanted the Mercedes silver. He got the Mercedes silver. So his cars match with the boat. So, yes, all these stories, which I love. Yeah. I do love that. And that's their personality coming out on their boat, and you do meet the owners and then you see their boat and go, oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah. At the Boat Princess, we have events, both online and in person, to network people in the boating industry and also to make women feel comfortable about joining us in the boating industry, teaching them, educating them, and making them feel like they're welcome. If you'd like to get involved in sponsoring any of those events, please contact us at theboatprincess.com. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, and I actually think it's really important that the boat builders listen to the owners sometimes, because the owners can come up with an idea. They use the boat, so they're coming up with some really good ideas, and sometimes you see that idea stick, and it goes through to other boats, which I love. I think it's so good. And
I think the Australian market's very different, and the amount of times I've gone to Europe and gone through boats, and the brokers and the yards will go, oh, we think this boat would be awesome in Australia. What do you think? And I'll go through it and I'll go, okay, number one, triple your fridge space.
Exactly.
And they go, what? There's a fridge. I mean, that's a bar fridge. That's half a day. Where's the rest of it? And the amount of boats, they look at me very strangely and they go, what? So number one, you need a lot of fridge. But as you know, the owners here go out, they leave the marina and they could go out, if it's not a weekend, weeks at a time. So the provisions they require, whereas in Europe, they always go back to a marina. Very rarely do they stay out for long periods of time. So I think that probably is the number one I will see, the difference is the boats. Obviously, our waters here, our tide, are pretty harsh.
Yeah.
And there's not many countries like us that your boat really does get a rough
ride from Sydney to Brisbane.
Yeah. So you need a brand that's really going to hold together. I mean, I've done a trip before and virtually the panels are starting to fall off. So you do, and this is a long time ago, not now, but, brands have realised that the way owners use their boats are very different. Many boats back when I started, the galleys were down.
Yep.
And then slowly they realised that Australian owners want galley up. They want it part of our lifestyle. We want to be able to be in the galley and be part of the entertaining. I mean, every party starts around the kitchen, and usually finishes. So, I mean, and that side of it, we don't. I mean, we're getting more into crew now, but over there, a 60-foot will still have crew, whereas most are owner-driven. And if they need a captain to come in as a day captain, they will, but they very rarely will have a captain on board at that point. So there are a lot of changes happening. I think with the market in Australia and New Zealand, very strong, continue to grow. We're on the, top 4 richest countries. We're growing up around the water. Boating's in our blood, whereas a lot of new nations, I know in Asia, it's developing. They are really doing well, but they are still learning boating culture. They're still behind in building marinas. We have been there for many years, and I think the rest of the world are just starting to catch on how many Australians are into boating. So many, though, keep their boats overseas. So we don't see as many here. So I think they're just starting to figure out that owners are very careful of no one knowing what they own overseas.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that a bit of a tall poppy Australian thing, do you think?
No, it probably used to be. I think now it's more like right now, the amount of owners that overseas, I'm always in touch with them and say, look, are you coming to Sydney Boat Show? The amount of replies were on our boat overseas was insane.
Yeah.
So, this time of year, they're either skiing or they're in Europe. And I'm actually get very tired looking at my socials of people in Greece, Croatia, and Saint-Tropez right now.
Fair enough.
Mind you, I'm pretty excited in joining them in a month's time. So
yay.
Yeah. But yes, it is something where Australian owners are in the top 10 in the world. Probably further down the list. I know many years ago there was a report done that Australia was number 5, and I thought that was quite extreme. And looked into it.
Yeah.
And what it was, they counted, it wasn't the boats, it was the owners.
Okay.
So when you look at how many boats are in the world and where the owner comes from, and let's just talk about Russia without being political about it, a lot of Russians will own 3, some own 7 boats.
Yep.
So every boat is counted as Russian. So all of a sudden Russia is way up there. But if you talk about owners, then Russia is further down the list.
Okay.
Because they own so many boats.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting way of looking at it. So when you look at actual owners, many years ago, Australia was number 4.
There you go.
So it's all about what report you're looking at.
Yeah, so Monaco, let all Australians in. Because you just don't know.
Oh, look, every time, I've been going to Monaco since 2005 and there's always, you could hear them. There are many, many Australian New Zealanders that go to Monaco and Cannes around the world. Even though we've got fabulous boat shows here, when you go to, say, Cannes and the yards have their full lineup, it is insane.
Yeah.
Like there'll be brands having 15 boats. And I mean, where do you start? Seriously, where do you start? It's fabulous. I love it. I just cannot get enough of it. So I'm very excited to head to Europe again, as we do every year.
Yeah, which is a bit of a juggle for you because you have a family here. How do you handle that with you, speaking to the women that we're speaking to about that whole, you do have to be overseas for what you do for a period of time.
I travel a lot. I think usually over 100 days a year I'm traveling. Not so much since COVID, I've got to say. I have pulled back slightly. Probably the best advice I was given years ago is females can have it all, just not at the same time. Yeah. And I think that's a very important thing to be very aware is choose your time, because eventually you'll have it all. Yeah. But you're just not at the same time. Yeah. So I started my business and I was very late. We were very late having children. I was 40 when I had Gabrielle, and it was hard to adjust, but I couldn't. I've done it with my husband. I mean, my husband just deals with everything at home with the kids. The kids are very sporty. Every evening he's shipping them around while I sometimes lucky to see them at night and give them a kiss before they fall asleep. And that's heartbreaking. There are a lot of times I've been in the office probably with a tear in the eye going, I should have been at their game, or I should have been at their school when they accepted a prize. But I know I'll be there in other times, and it's a matter of choosing your moments when you need to be there. And I think it's never easy, but it will come. And I think owning a business, there's so many rewards, and being a female, it's exciting time for us. But just be kind to yourself, and just know you can do it. Just don't push it that it all has to be at the same time. Yeah.
Good advice. And so boat shows. We're here at Sydney Boat Show. I love Sydney Boat Show.
Oh, absolutely. Home down. This is great. Look at the sun shining.
I think Sydney is a really important show. And I love seeing all my mates at Sydney Boat Show. It's just a good moment in life. What do you love about Sydney Boat Show?
It's so easy to get to. I mean, you've got all the hotels around, all the restaurants, and it's like a big amphitheatre, isn't it? Yeah. It really is. I mean, I'm lucky and I'm staying at the beautiful Sofitel Darling Harbour. We overlook it, have breakfast every morning and overlook the show. It's great. And we have to also remember that the old money wealth is in Sydney and Melbourne, of course, and a lot of people from Melbourne have travelled up and around Australia and New Zealand as well. Sydney's such a great city, the best harbour. I mean, I'm from New Zealand. I love Auckland Harbour, but Sydney's a great harbour. So we're so lucky to be here. And I think probably also to remember is Sydney Boat Show is run and owned by the BIA. The BIA, and I can't tell, I mean, you've been involved with the BIA for so many years. It's so important to support them and make sure that the BIA really do well, and they are the ones that are backing all of us. They are behind every single company, big or small, to make sure we succeed. They're the ones staying back and making sure that the regulations, all the changes that the government wanted bring on us, they're fighting for us. So we've got to support them. And as much as we love all the other companies and all the other boat shows, we have to make sure the BIA continue to be strong. And that is one of the reasons I will always back Sydney.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's an incredibly important show exactly for that reason. You know, I think we need to think about the fact that the industry has to be strong together. Yes. And it's the BIA that pulls that together. So, and we need to, be careful that we don't lose incredible events like this, because this is an amazing event and we have to make sure that it's supported well, because I think it's super important to Sydney. And as you say, the money's in Sydney at the end of the day. So,
yes. And I mean, I don't know why, but a lot of owners, they like things coming to them. Yeah. So you'll find in Sydney that people will be in the city and they will drop in. Like this afternoon, we've got a lot of owners coming and joining us for a drink this afternoon, and they've been in the city and they'll just pop it easy for them. Yeah. And it's about meeting people. Their boat that they might not be here, but they're still meeting. The people are here. Yeah. And they're still meeting people. And talking about Cannes, talking about Monaco and what's happening next year at other boat shows. You know, owners travel and they travel very long distance. It's not like in Europe, if they go over 4 hours, they start to worry about what the packing, but you know, here we travel all the time. 24 hours on a plane for us is, we've all done it for forever. So it's never been a problem. They will hop on a plane and go to Europe in a heartbeat to find the right boat.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Quality Marine Clothing, for the amazing clothing they do for us, all logoed for the Boat Princess. We love that. They, of course, are the place to go to for uniforms for your super yacht crew, your marina crew, or frankly, anybody that's got a company that needs uniforms. Quality Marine Clothing is the place to be. So, what do you think the future is for Ocean? You've achieved so much and you've done so many things. What do you think the future holds for Ocean Media? Have you got some secret things in the pipeline you're going to tell us about?
I've got so many things. Oh my goodness. As I said, my list of things I want to do is huge. I was just hoping that my daughters were a little bit older to take over the company eventually, but they've got to finish their schooling. Very important. Yeah. There are so many different things that I want to do. And next year is our 20th. So there's very exciting things happening next year. And growing with the market, I think there's so many people love events. So next year's a really important year, 20 years. I still can't believe it.
Yeah. How have you don't look old enough, babe. You don't.
Oh my goodness. I feel every single moment some days, but I do love life and I take it all to the limits.
You're a New Zealander. That's what you're
right.
meant to do.
Good Croatian blood. I think Ocean, the publication is really strong. Our Ocean Club events, we've got quite a number planned for next year. I think with other changes, there's a few gaps in the industry right now, which I will be announcing soon. There's a few little things I need to tidy up before I announce them. And I love just supporting everyone. To be honest, I just love what I do so much. I love it when there's new people come in to sit down with them and give them some tips, advice, whether it's branding, whether it's introducing them to people they should know. I think that's what some things I've enjoyed the most.
Yeah, I absolutely adore introducing somebody that should know somebody else. That means they're going to go both help each other. I love doing that.
Yes, and I think there's so many people that need that help when they start off, and I think it's really important as an industry we do more of that. I do get frustrated sometimes where we can be a little bit divisive and protective. I think there should be more events that, for instance, sit down. You don't need a sponsored event. You can all sit down, pay a lunch individually and talk and meet new people and do things that are simple. And we probably don't do enough of that, because when you get everyone in a round table experience and they start talking and opening up, it's really interesting to see what comes of it, because everyone's very protective of keeping their secrets close. But once you put them in a room and start opening up a conversation, they will start sharing. And I think the industry as a whole will grow a lot stronger if we do it together and be a little bit more sharing of knowledge. And all of us can do better. One thing I would like to see more of is, when we'll go back to the emission side of things, is if they all got together, the companies, and sat down, the money they would save if they all shared knowledge. I wish there was more of that happening. There are some yards starting to do it. There should be more. Locally, I think the associations do a very good job together. So they do bring a lot of people and sharing information. What do you think about that? How is your view on...
Well, I see it at the ICOMIA level, which I love.
Yes.
So when we go to the World Marinas Conference and we go to the ICOMIA Congress, and I literally see people from the top level of marine industry associations from all around the world, and they're all experiencing similar problems. So because they come together in that room and they discuss those, they actually do go away with solutions to all work together towards, which gives them a lot more power in terms of, if we all show the governments and the legislators what we're doing, the decarbonisation is a perfect example. And then hopefully we can prevent nasty regulations coming that's going to really hurt the industry from happening in the first place. And that is incredibly important. So that's actually helping the whole of the industry, which I love. And I just wish, I guess, it'd be nice if that happened on the other side, on the government side as well, when they actually all went, okay, we've got this problem around the world, how do we
they did it with COVID, and take the political side out. They all knew there was a problem, and within a year they all got together and created a vaccine, worked 24 hours around the clock to come up with a vaccine. So they can do it. So
we know they can do it.
So we do know they can do it.
But they do need to.
They did it.
Yeah, but they do need to listen to the experts.
Yes,
that are actually in the industry, because they do not understand it. We are a different industry to any other. So they do need to listen to us and understand what we do and why we do it. Yeah.
Now I want to ask you a question.
Oh, okay.
You've been fabulous spearheading the whole getting more females into our industry. I mean, it's really incredible. We were up this morning having the breakfast.
Yeah.
I think it was almost 50-50 females in the room.
Look, I reckon it was about 30-70. But that's brilliant, right? Because in the past, I remember 10 years ago, standing in a conference and there was literally 10 girls and 400 guys. So it is progressing beautifully.
Yes.
And I cannot speak more positively about it, because it really is happening. And we have to thank the guys, because
absolutely.
Without the guys' support to make it happen, then it wouldn't happen. But it really is happening. And
but it's in every industry as well. Every industry is going through exactly the same issues. But no, it's really exciting. In fact, just reminds me, I remember going to the Riviera Yard 19 years ago. I don't think we saw a female in the yard apart from on the front counter.
Yes.
Now, I went through the yard recently and females are in every division of boat building. The technical aspect, and talking to Riviera, a lot of the females are in senior positions because of their attention to detail.
Yes, and we're really good at that.
They are rising faster because of their attention to detail. So there's some really core parts of manufacturing that they're just doing so well, which is exciting to see, because everyone wins. Everyone wins when there's diversity in our industry.
Well, there was a brilliant comment in the diversity committee we had yesterday, and they said that they really like having female ferry drivers because they use 30% less fuel.
Interesting.
How good is that?
I don't think that would work with me. I've got a really heavy foot.
But it's differences like that that make, as you say, everything more successful because of the greater diversity. And that's what they were talking about. The more diversity you have within businesses, the greater the success of the business. So
maybe that's my success. I think we're 90% females.
Well, there you go.
My journalists all around the world. I mean, I've got some fabulous males as well working for me and writing for me, but a lot of females, a lot of female journalists. In fact, whenever we go to the boat shows, possibly, I mean, maybe more females in our industry, in the journalists. I would say that, because I think you see a lot more females in the industry than we do. Huge, yes. I mean, overseas, I've seen it from day one. And I think here is so much better now. But I think when I started, there were some really amazing owners of both vessels and companies, and it's exciting. And I think everyone needs someone to look up to and also help out with new. And I think everyone's got that pathway now. There are not many that you could say, being a female, you've you've got no pathway through. I think we're doing a great job in society. I think in society we are getting there, and we've really improved, which, you know, and it's very exciting because I've got 2 girls, and I've no doubt that they also will rule the world one day and whatever they choose to do.
Well, I think we're bringing stronger girls through. So
Yes.
your girls see you doing what you're doing, and they assume that's normal.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So whereas your mum, or the mum before
Yes.
that probably,
Yes.
didn't necessarily do that. So I'm seeing an amazing change in the strength of women coming through. The younger
Yes.
women, they're much more forthright. They're much more, they will call out things that aren't appropriate quickly.
Yes.
And I love that and the men, the younger men, behave differently as well.
Yes.
So I think it's a whole change, as you say, of society as much as anything else.
Yes.
What I would love to see is a lot more women getting involved in things like shipwrights, mechanics, marina management, dock masters. Dock masters is a brilliant way to get into the boating industry, and I would love to see more females right there, because they're brilliant at it. Look at our brilliant Chloe that's up at Queensland now, but she was with us at Lake Macquarie. Just amazing. And again, it's down to attention to detail, being able to do so many things at once, and
multitask. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's really exciting for the industry that it's changing like that.
Yep.
And but it's been really quick. It's
Very quick. It has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in the last 10 years there has been a big shift, but since COVID, another shift. So, and a lot more owners. I mean, I've got one of my girlfriends, for instance, many years she got divorced, and she had a very successful business, and she always wanted to go boating, but her husband didn't like it. First thing she did, she got a ticket, went and learned how to drive a boat. And now they've got one in New Zealand, and they spend 6 months in Europe every year on a sailboat.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, and they've learned, they were never sailors, and she has driven that.
Yeah.
And that's happening more and more.
Yeah. And other really important things like the America's Cup.
Oh my goodness.
With the women's
exciting.
How do you feel about that? Tell me how you feel about that.
Oh, I am mad. I just cannot wait. I mean, I'm going to Cannes Boat Show, fly back, and then I head to Barcelona for the finals. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I just love it. Love the technology that's coming through. I think the AC40s are so exciting. I mean, we had that experience in the simulator.
That was
Seriously,
brilliant.
How brilliant was that?
I know, I loved it.
And it's so exciting for the females because, again, they've got this pathway now. And Tash, I interviewed her a couple of months ago, and what was so exciting, I was just like, go girl. She's 21, and she's like, open. I'm going for the open. One day I'll be sailing with the boys. And the America's Cup, it's the best of the best. But the AC40s for the youth and the females to get on that boat, and that's their pathway. I know they're involved with Sail GP. Unfortunately, we don't think there'll ever be just a female sailing team, mainly because of the hydraulics they need to, they don't have the strength, all of them.
Yeah.
In America's Cup, it's not a problem in the AC40s. And I think that AC40 series will be very competitive. I see that going places. I really do, especially for the females. As for the Open, the 75s, how exciting are they? Oh my goodness, I cannot wait. And I know a lot of people struggle with where sailing's going, but I keep saying to them, if you love sailing, if you love the J class, if you love the TP 52s, they're all there. You can follow them around the world. America's Cup breaks all the rules and it just pushes boundaries. And that's what's so exciting about it, is what next? I mean, where do you go after making a sailing boat fly?
Yeah.
And it's really exciting.
Yeah.
So bring that on.
I know, right? So exciting.
I know. And I've never been to Barcelona, so that's going to make it even more exciting.
You will love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I've been to, I'm a real foodie. So
yeah,
that will be fun. going over with some great people, and I've got a foot in each camp.
Yeah.
So the New Zealand team, obviously, waving the flag with my Emirates team, New Zealand, and then, of course, Australia, another foot in Australia, and of course, the girls and the youth team. Really excited. I mean, I think they've got a very good chance.
Yes, I do too.
Obviously, over the moment with the sailing.
Yeah.
So, the Olympics been really exciting in our household because we've got one TV on all the New Zealanders and one TV on the Australians. And so, my husband and I will never change our colour. This way everything's black. We are Kiwis and we'll always egg on the All Blacks every day of the week. Yep. But having two girls born in Australia and they're very sporty, and, we hope one day they might be at the 2032 Olympics in whatever sport they choose.
Wow.
And they will be Australian, and they are Australians. And we're so proud. And I love that I've got a foot in each camp because I love Australia. And I mean, there's so many New Zealanders living over here, but you can't change your flag when where your passion lies.
No.
And we're very big All Black fans.
Yeah.
So no, that part is really exciting. I think there's so much to come out of that sport, and a lot of the technologies that start with America's Cup, you will see many years later in the sailing yachts and other. So the sails, all the hydraulics, and there's a lot, of course, we don't see. So there is so much that we are yet to find out of what makes those boats fly.
Yeah. Talking of flying, we were on the top 10 speed records on the simulator. Did you know that?
Yes, I know.
We did all right.
We did.
I put it entirely down to Nina Curtis being behind me.
Yes, I know. Oh, look, that was so much fun. Oh, my goodness.
It was great fun.
I really would love to make that, put into some sort of, I'm not a big gamer, but how exciting would that be?
Yeah.
And I think they are talking about something like that, aren't they? Turn into some sort of game.
Yes. How good would that be?
I know. So much fun.
Yeah. If you'd like to look at sponsoring the Boat Princess podcast to bring your brand to an entire worldwide audience, from Turkey to the US, from Australia to the UK, from Poland to Portugal, then contact us at theboatprincess.com. We'd love to share your brand with the world. So one thing I wanted to ask you, because you are a big fan of Australia and you obviously know the super yacht space very well, a lot more super yachts are coming to Australia.
Yes.
And do you think that's going to continue to grow? And do you think there's any challenges for those super yachts here?
We've got both Australian owned and, of course, a lot of internationally owned vessels coming down under. I think a big challenge at the moment, the Red Sea problem. They're all diverting over to Panama Canal, which of course brings other challenges. It does, or they're going down the Cape, which of course is a huge distance to travel. Owners want to go places. They've finally figured out that they've done Europe. Yeah. And I'm not going to be harsh and say that's dead, because a lot of people say, oh, Europe's dead, that the super yacht's got to, it definitely isn't. And there's a lot of restrictions. So the owners that have a fear of flying longer than 4 hours, we're not going to see them down here.
Yeah.
But then there's others, especially the younger generations. And again, what we spoke about, the technology on board that allows them to go further and, of course, spend 6 months on a boat and bring their family. It's discovering. And I think nowadays they want to discover new places. With the rise of digital aspect of seeing these places, the captains can look into the marinas where they can bring in their private jet into, pre-plan everything. Antarctica, Antarctica's booked out.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And so they're only allowed so many per year down there, and owners are very keen to see it and protect it, which I'm a big believer of. The owners are our greatest hope, and boat owners, of ocean conservation. The ocean's our playground, and we need to look after it. So I think from that side, the more people that see the issues that are going on and discovering at the same time, we've got some challenges, but it's also exciting what these owners are bringing to our industry. And I see more super yachts coming into Australia and New Zealand. We've got some of the best refit yards in the world And with the, over 20 years, the refit yards have been promoting in Monaco, and it really has paid off. And a lot of owners that come down especially to get their boats refitted down here. So we're not lacking for talent at all, and the owners know that, especially the crew. The captains are just so important these days, and the owners take so much advice off the captains and, of course, the crew. A lot of them are from this part of the world.
Yeah, we're really good at that, aren't we?
So, we are seeing a rise, challenges of where we're going to berth them, but I don't think that's going to stop people. If they have to berth for a week out on the harbour somewhere and tender in, I don't think it's going to stop them from coming here. Look what we've got on offer.
Yeah.
And it is very different. They're not coming to Australia to moor up and go to the restaurants. They don't come for that. That's what Sancho pays for, and that's what's so inviting for the Australians with their boats overseas to see something different. They're coming here to see the wilderness, go through the Kimberley. Have you been through the Kimberley?
No, I'd love to,
though. Oh, my
though.
goodness. It is spectacular. And it is something which really did change my view of just the capabilities, the things you can see, the rock art, the indigenous way of life. It opened my eyes, and I loved every minute of it. So I think everybody, if possible, that's a must do. Great Barrier Reef, obviously, we don't need to talk about how incredible that is.
It's amazing.
There is so much to see, vast distances. Tasmania, the amount of super yachts that have gone to Tasmania and just said the food experience down there, the diving, obviously diving and adventure sports is huge on the super yachts. So I don't see anything slowing down at all.
Yeah.
I think with more super yachts, I think this year there's more super yachts being launched than any other year.
No way.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's actually pushing some interesting figures out.
Yeah.
But it starts with there's more super yacht launches than any other year, which means the brokerage will rise, and people suddenly think, oh, that's because people want to sell their boat. It's actually because there's
just more boats.
More boats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means we're going to need more crew.
Oh, then we're going to need more of everything.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're, like every industry, we're all trying to figure out where our next team member is coming from. What I think is one of the most interesting conversations right now is the transfer of wealth.
Yes.
And it's happening now. It's been happening for a few years, but it's really starting to speed up. As an industry, we need to all sit down and trying to figure out how we are getting in front of these so many families that have never been introduced to boating, and how do we invite them to discover boating as a possible, whether it's part of the destination, their adventure, whether it's a holiday, all these different things. How do we capture these people?
Yeah.
Because they're taking the private aviation, they're doing all these incredible cruising.
Yeah.
But now we just need to bring the boating aspect in. So that's a big thing for us. We need to somehow capture that market.
I agree. Yeah, because it is a big transfer. It's the biggest transfer ever, right?
Ever.
That's happening.
Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, which is exciting.
Well, it is exciting around the world, but it brings a lot of problems as well to
it'll
us.
bring some challenges.
Yes.
A lot of people will be going, okay, I don't need to work anymore. Won't they? That's a bit of a worry.
It is. And then staffing costs. And if they do want to suddenly go, we want to get into boating.
Yeah.
Again, we will have extra crew problems and all these different things. So it's really interesting times.
Which is why magazines like yours are fantastic to educate those people as to the opportunities that are available to them, the lifestyle, the how it works. That they don't, if you're not into the super yacht space, but suddenly you're going to come into this massive wealth and you're going to be able to get into this super yacht space, something like your education that you're getting out there allows them to understand it a bit more, to be less nervous to get into it, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of the things that we're in all the Qantas chairman's lounges, the clubs, all the private aviation. We're in most of the first 5-star hotels around Australia too, in the suites. And one of the reasons, and of course costs a lot of money, but I do that because we're getting to an audience that might not be captured yet, and they might pick it up and go, oh, what's this magazine? And it's another way to get to a new market.
Yeah.
And it's incredible around the world where ocean suddenly ends up. And I think that's got to do with and same with Emirates as well, getting on those flights.
Yeah.
I mean, someone in Spain one day took a photo. They had a charter in Spain and sent me the photo going, I'm on a boat in Spain and here's
your
ocean.
magazine. I love that. I do that sometimes, don't I? Send those to you.
Yeah, I love it. And it's you know.
It makes me feel like there's a little bit of piece of home when I'm in a, business class lounge somewhere in the world and your magazine's there. I take a photo of it because I feel like there's a little bit of home here. This is cool.
No, I love that. I do get a lot of it and it's so nice. And Brink, keep it going because I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting where they do end up. So passed on, which is great.
Yeah. Awesome.
All the doctor's surgeries, all the cafes and people will pass on.
I love it.
So they read it and then they'll leave it in a cafe or they will pass it on. So,
and that's
fabulous.
another thing about print versus digital, isn't it? It keeps going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't get lost. And I mean, how many times have we seen something, usually something stupid and funny on Instagram? We go, oh my goodness, I need to show you this. Go and try to find that. Unless you save it, it is gone. And you have no idea. That actually happened to me the other day. And I have no idea what happened to it. So that's an issue, but there's so much content being created, it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
But probably one of the most fascinating stories someone once told me where they were saying how much they love print. And they said, and this is why. And they were a boat owner. And he said, I just don't know what I'm going to get when I turn that page. And I love it. I'm learning something. Whereas with Google, you put something into Google and you'll get that.
That's so true.
Whereas in a magazine, they don't know what they're getting.
Yeah.
And so they're learning. And he said he was reading, and I can't remember which, I think it was Aviation magazine because he owns a plane as well. And he went to the back and there was an advert for, it was a classic car. And he ended up buying that car and he said, if they didn't advertise in that magazine, I would have never found it because it's something I would have never Googled.
Yeah.
And he said, and it was because I read that magazine, I didn't expect it. And he went, oh, that's amazing, found it and ended up buying it.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing is Google will give you what you ask for.
Yeah.
But how do you know what you really want?
That's so true.
And
so
I think
true.
that's what's so exciting about print and when you're reading something in the stories is unexpected.
And it also makes you explore. I mean, yours is a perfect example. You might be a fan of a particular yacht brand and you think that's what you want, but then you see something in your magazine which has got a feature or a style or something that you think, oh, actually, I prefer that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the conversations I love talking to owners about is why the style of boat, what's your favourite part on board, what made you choose this brand. And it's quite interesting, the stories that do come back. And it might be the smallest little thing and you go, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about before, I mean, everyone loves the transom area. And I tell you what, if I ever get to buy a super yacht one day and we all wish to buy it, that transom area is going to be the most incredible area. That's where I want to spend all my time. Yeah. And it's so exciting, all the changes that are happening in the beach clubs and, oh my goodness, fold out balconies. I mean, it's really exciting what's happening in trends in that area. And I think the connection between the boat and the ocean now is a lot better than it used to be. We tended, I think 10 years ago, suddenly building these massive big super yachts that had no connection with the water at all. And now that's reversed, thank goodness, that they're bringing back being connected to the water, being able to put your legs over, and there's nothing better than just sitting there with your family, dangling your legs in the water, whatever boat you're on, and enjoying it.
Yeah. What a way to end this podcast.
I know.
Hey?
Fabulous. Oh, it's been so much fun.
It's actually really good fun doing a podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think, we end on that note of how wonderful boating is and it is a very special way to spend time together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Families on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Hilary, so much.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
And I'm sure we'll see you around the show.
Oh, definitely. I love this show. I absolutely love the show. It takes me hours to get around this show now because I see so many people that I know and love.
I haven't made it all the way around yet. No. I've got a bit of walking to do.
Yeah, which is, that, as you said, it's the people.
Yes.
And we're lucky enough to work in an industry as full of some amazing people. And, as we're doing this podcast, several people are walking past and waving at me, which is, that's fabulous. It's adorable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
So,
well, we better go and wave to some more people.
We had. Thank you so much for your time, Henry.
Wonderful.
You have always been someone that I wanted to interview because you've achieved so much. Your ocean magazine and your ocean media is amazing. And as an industry, I want to thank you for that because it's you've done so much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have you followed me on LinkedIn as Nicky Vaux, the Boat Princess? I'll be posting details on what's going on in the boating industry, and you can also connect with me if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast and share your business story. Well, it's been lovely to have you listen out there, folks. I really appreciate your ears. And if you'd like to get in contact, just follow me on Instagram at The Boat Princess and perhaps leave me a comment on today's picture of our podcast so that we can get an idea of what you thought about it. That'd be lovely. Take care and we'll see you on the water soon.